Hello, everyone. Welcome to Astrologer Climate Witness tonight. I am going to be covering the influence of Neptune throughout the United States chart and how I see that unfolding in our nation. So I'm going to read from my outline that I've written. And I have covered this a little bit before, but have new material that I would like to add. So here we go. With the current bombardment of world events flooding through our consciousness, I have found it very difficult to come here and try to respond upon them. However, I have finally decided to give it a try again. Yes, as I've stated before, there's so much happening. And to settle down and delineate between the various occurrences and how it relates to astrology. I mean, I can come up with it sometimes in my mind when I'm doing things throughout the day, and then to sit down and just correlate or collate that into a reading takes a lot, okay? Because then I question myself, So anyway, I'm going to start. First, I want to make this bigger so that I can see it better. There we go. I will start by listing a few of the astrological points that show what I am stating about the current mentality of the American people in general. Of course, it's not everybody, but the big influence that's affecting everyone, whether they're accepting that influence or using logic and critical thinking to decipher through it. That, it depends on the person. Okay, now I'm going to read a little bit of a description of one of the aspects or one of the sides of Neptune, okay? And I have to make my statement here that I've usually made. Remember, any sign or planet has a positive or a negative expression at any one time. And then within mundane astrology, since we're talking about many, many different people and different institutions and organizations, the positive and the negative could be expressing at the same time within that nation, okay? So, Neptune astrology. It's from the website. It says insightfulpsychics.com, okay? But, okay. I represent Neptune. I represent the rose-colored lenses you wear. As the planet of deception and confusion, I make it difficult for you to tell apart fact from some fiction sometimes. I add that magical touch to your life with dreams and illusions. So, now, having said that, here's another part. In its highest form, it brings cosmic consciousness in contact with reality, the two mixing. To me, that's Virgo Pisces, but okay. In the Neptune principle, as opposed to logic, one sees connections that pass by the normal intellect. Okay, that's also from insightfulpsychics.com. Okay, now I have a little picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And it's on here, but I took a picture of it from my computer, and I'm going to show you kind of something that explains Neptune a little bit, okay? And here we go. Hopefully you can tell what this is really getting at. When I show you this, hopefully it'll come out on the picture. Oh, I don't think it's going to. It says, no time to explain, get in the van. So, okay, it's not really coming out too well. You see the psychedelic van painted there and the unicorn driving. Okay, no time to explain, get in the van. So that's kind of Neptune's orientation in general. There's no way to explain what I'm trying to get across to you. Just follow me. Okay, believe and have faith. Okay, so when you go back in time, 2,000 years or so, when at the beginning of the Piscean age, okay, everyone, even if you don't know astrology much, you've heard, oh, we've been in a Piscean age, now we're going to go to an Aquarian age at some point. 2,000 years of just believe and it'll be all right, you'll be saved, right? That's what we've been experiencing for 2,000 years. And the thing is that the fact that Neptune is going through its own sign of Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces, that's an added emphasis on that 2,000-year era, okay? And the fact that in the nation's chart, it rules the third house, Pisces does, although it's intercepted. Aquarius rules it on the edge, but this is the very last degrees of Aquarius. So in a hidden room, okay, that's the way we discuss interceptions in astrology. A hidden room that only gets activated, that Pisces orientation in the thinking processes gets activated when there's transits going through. Now, personal planets, or the faster planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they go through there periodically quite often, and it's not much of a big deal. But when you get a planet, an outer planet that takes a long time to go through, like 13, 14 years for Neptune, it tends to have an influence. And during other time periods of Neptune through Pisces, the whole concept of spirituality or belief systems took precedence, okay? And it influenced the thinking of the populace overall. So now we have that orientation of just believe and you will have a savior. All right, if you get my drift here. So there are people that are being so influenced by this that they have let go of any ability to think critically and have hitched their wagon to someone who they think is a savior, who can save America or save them from, the negatives of all of what is going on in the world now, foreign influence and evil, anything to do with, child trafficking, which is real, okay? We all know that, but it's not like, if you take other people's attitudes about this, some people's attitudes, like nobody's doing anything, they're actually perpetuating it. It's like, what has been done is a sleight of hand has been taking place, which is a very Neptunian tool to get people to not look at what's real, but look over there. See, this is what you want to pay attention to. Don't look at that. That's reality. Just look at what you want to have going on. Just look at what you aspire to, but not in a way that's going to work in reality. Okay, just believe the most conspiratorial aspect of what's happening. Okay, because as someone we know is saying, they're the only ones that can fix it. He's the only one that can fix it, if you get my drift. So that sleight of hand has been at work for a while, starting back with the birther issue. And that was the beginning of Neptune through Pisces. He might have started it a little before, but Neptune entered Pisces in 2011. Okay, and I think from what I heard, I didn't look this one up, but from what I was paying attention to, and I've been paying close attention for a very long time, that was about the first I heard him coming up with that. Maybe it was before that when he ran the first time, but I think it was mostly the second time Obama ran. Anyway, my thing is, going through the third house, the house of cognitive thinking processes for the populace of the country, Neptune is pulling the wool over our eyes. Okay. I say Neptune is, but it's reflecting. It's a mirror as to what's happening in our country. And actually, since it's it doesn't just affect the United States, but where it affects other countries is probably a different area, which I haven't gone into yet. But I might have to study that one too for certain countries. But anyway, let me go on a little bit more with some details about the chart facts here. Okay, so not only has Neptune been transiting the third house of the United States chart, but the progressed sun entered Pisces in 2011. Now, the United States is a Cancer sun sign. Okay, it is July 4th. That's our birthday, right? And the progressed sun, most astrologers here will know what that is. It's a mathematical calculation. And kind of what it does is discuss the maturity, when you're talking about natal charts, individuals, the maturity or the maturation process of the individual, their ego, so to speak, maturing and experiencing other aspects of life rather than just what they were born into. But the United States is now a Pisces sun sign progressed wise. So what that did was that brought about in the United States this orientation towards the utopia that we're looking for, and constantly and consistently viewing the United States, going back in time sometimes to that days of old where we lived in this utopian 1950s reality, which was only good for certain people. And we just want to gloss over and look at the illusions that we want to believe about who we are. The sun indicates the ego, but also in mundane astrology, it indicates the leader of the country. And there are people in this country that want that savior to save us from all the ills of the world at this point. And to try to understand why certain people are falling for this and others are not. That's another whole video. I don't really have an explanation for that at this point. But personality does have a lot to do with what you expect out of your government, okay? And there are many people in this world who their main focus is about their own safety, their own security, and their own little world, their own little bubble, which is very Piscean, and they only care about that. If you are only using your Pisces orientation to secure the world for only yourself, then you're not using Pisces in the positive way. There are positives to Pisces. And if you want to go back to the story of Jesus, then the symbolism of that, of being empathetic and compassionate and treating your neighbor as you'd want to be treated, and bringing about unconditional love, that sort of thing. Well, what's happening is not the best. That's not expressing that. That savior that people are looking toward is the exact opposite of that. And he's pulling the wool over their eyes and pretending. He's a pretender. The negative of Pisces is the pretender. Okay? He can obfuscate, and twist everything around so that he comes across as being what they want. At any one moment, you could watch this individual and see how he does that. So again, we're seeing the positive and the negative of Pisces being expressed. All right, so the maturation of the United States, we're expecting a savior, okay? Not all of us, but some. But when it comes to climate change and planetary overshoot, even the people who are trying their best to use cognitive thinking processes and coming up with critical analysis of this situation and of people who are running our government, we still, some of us are very allured or attracted by someone or some technology to fix this. And we're still living in that. We've got to save ourselves. We've got to save the planet. Okay, this is very Piscean. Okay, we must be saved. Yeah, I want to be saved, but I mean, what's been going through my head over the last few days, I mean, it's happened before, of course, a lot, but it just came to me more in a more deep understanding that if we're just like any other species, we are not given an absolute that we will be saved in any way, shape, or form. We're just another species. We do not have this outside benefactor who's going to come down and say, okay, you humans, you're just so great. I'm just going to save you. I mean, no matter whether it's technology or, something outside, even aliens, I mean, it's a nice thought. You can have it in your mind, but that doesn't mean you should push away reality. Okay. Don't push away reality. That's what people are doing when they're coming up with a lot of the techno fixes. I know that trying to prop up industrial civilization means you're trying to save everyone. Basically, this is the conundrum. We want to save people. We don't want people to die, right? You want to save your loved ones. If there's a hurricane, a tornado, or any particular thing, you don't want your loved ones to be the ones that are dying. And of course, if you're a big enough person, you don't want other people's loved ones to be dying. So yes, propping up civilization is and saving people's loved ones is one of the reasons why people want to do this. You want to come up with the technologies to save us, to save our loved ones. You don't want that to happen. Of course, some people also want to save all the fun stuff that we got going on too. And yes, I would really miss computers, but I am really working on the acceptance mode of all of this. So whatever. Anyway, to go on. The orientation of our species to go beyond the material, that's very Neptunian and Piscean. We have an imagination. This is Pisces. This is Neptune. We imagine. We have fantasy. And that's a good thing in a way. It really is. It's probably one of the things that's kept us going for so long so that we can escape, very Piscean, from reality at times to soften and get rid of, to soften reality and get rid of stress. Okay. It's kind of a necessary part of living. We don't know if animals do this. I have no idea. I haven't looked into that. Whether they play, right? Animals play, and to a very small degree, some play requires some fantasy. But yeah, anyway, we really have to go. We go back and forth. That's a contradiction. There's so much contradiction in everything, all the time, right? But we know if we want to try to save 8 billion people with technology that got us into this trouble in the first place, isn't that really being in touch with reality? Because no matter how many wishes we have, the facts are there that the Arctic is melting, the Antarctic is melting, and all of the specific scientific occurrences or geologic occurrences and things having to do with physics and thermodynamics, it's all a reality. And you can't just wish it away or meditate it away. You know, the only thing you can do by meditating or being as positive yourself as you can do is to make the social aspects of the world better. Okay, you're not going to change the physical reality of the planet. It's way too late. But by trying to be the best human you can make social realities better. Now, is this person who's trying to become leader of the free world, which it won't be once he's in, but okay. Yes, I'm making this very political because we have to pay attention to what is happening. Because in the past, we've seen a time when people did not do that. They did not pay attention. They did not use critical thinking in terms of assessing any particular person that was trying to become a leader. You know, they wanted that safety. They wanted that sense of everything is going to be okay. Well, if you're not going to face reality, then what happens is something like that. And we can see it coming right now. We can see it. Today on the Ali Velshi show, I saw a man on there, and I can't remember his name. I heard it once, but it was very low, and I didn't hear it very well. But today's Ali Velshi show, there was a gentleman on there who spoke truth to power, man. I'm telling you, this guy, and his statement, one of them, was that Trump wants to be a king. He said that. And other people have pretty much said that. When they say that when he wants to be a dictator, basically, same idea as a king. Now, what is the rising sign for Trump? The established chart that everyone's accepted for Trump is he has 29 degrees Leo rising. And in astrology, we have a thing called the anaretic degree of any sign. That is the last degree of a sign, the 29th, 30th, basically, degree of a sign. That right there shows, and what they say by a sign, a planet being at the 29th degree of a sign, it's the last chance to get the energy, the influence of that sign correct. Well, he's not doing that. He's hanging on to the most negative expression of Leo, dictator. I'm the boss and you're not. I have the power, you don't. And other things in his chart only add to that. Also, Mars, the planet of the fight or flight function in the human, it represents the fight or flight function in humans, is also right there on his ascendant, his identity house. And it's influencing, Mars is the assertiveness or aggression. Okay, it's coming through Leo. So it's not just the 29th degree of Leo, but it's Mars and Leo. So the Mars is adding an aggressiveness to Leo that just makes Leo that much more aggressive. Okay, not everyone necessarily with Mars and Leo is that aggressive, but and the thing about it is it doesn't come out in him. It's right behind the ascendant. It's not in the first house, if I remember correctly. There's the line and the ascendant point. It's right behind that in the 12th, so it's hidden. So he gets other people to do his aggression for him. Okay, he hides the aggressiveness through getting other people to do it for him. So those points in his chart really state exactly what this man said today on Ali Velshi, that Trump wants to be a king. There's just no other way you can interpret this. It says it right in his chart. So I thought I wrote down, let's see, the 29th degree of Leo. I thought I looked this up before. I should have done it again. The anaretic degree of Leo's interpretation, Sabian symbols. Okay. This is one. It says the waters, still, dark, and deep. Dr. Mark Edmund Jones provides the official meaning of the Sabian symbol in his work, The Sabian Symbols. It says a mermaid. Well, actually, you know what? So, that would be the anaretic degree of Leo. Did I say?
According to Astrology Okulu, Royal Fixed Star Regulus is at 29 degrees Leo. It is of the nature of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The phase of gaining self-confidence and enjoying being on stage before moving on to serve other people in a humble way, an immutable sign, Virgo.
There, you see? I'll read that so that you can get a grasp, okay? The 29th degree of Leo is on the fixed star Regulus. It is of the nature of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The phase of gaining self-confidence and enjoying being on stage before moving on to serve other people in a humble way, an immutable sign, Virgo. Now, we could see when he was a president before, he never humbled himself to serve anybody. He is stuck at that 29th degree. Stuck. We can see that. And it says in the beginning of this, degree of royalty and fame. The 29th degree. That's his rising sign degree. Okay? Monarchy, heritage, art, show business, stage, management, acting. This has nothing to do with, anybody that knows. This has been written for years and years and years. Okay? So they don't know Trump, right? Show business, stage, management, acting, all kinds of work done on stage, fame, glory, gaining or losing reputation, fashion, kings and queens, creativity, self-esteem, excessive luxury. He lived in a penthouse lined with gold. And glamour, arrogance, generosity, or excessive spending, the constant desire of being at the center of attention, the inferiority complex, inability to be humble. I'm sorry, but it says it right there. Okay? He's just expressing it all over the place. I really wish I could get more people to see this, but I don't know. You could give people all kinds of facts, and if their mind is made up, because I've given people all kinds of facts about climate change, and if their mind's made up, they don't care. So now, let me go on. So that's covering the savior who wants to be the king, okay? Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Let me read the third house. It's in the third house, astrology is, and I wrote this down. Neptune is. Okay. Mundane astrology studies the impact of the planets on the world at large. It's a wider view of astrology and how it impacts all of us as societies, countries, and earthlings. When you're interpreting a chart in mundane astrology, whether it's for a country, corporation, or event, the houses in the chart can be similar to how they're interpreted in a natal chart. You just have to adjust for the fact that you're not interpreting for an individual. Okay, now, third house. Okay. The third house is one of the communication houses, and as well as one of the houses ruling travel, but it's short travel, so travel by bus, car, bicycle, etc. In charts for countries, cities, it can show the way people move around, how they interact with one another, how communities come together, and things like traffic, mass transit, local newspapers. Okay. The third house also rules young people and primary education because it teaches your basic cognitive skills. Okay. Though some of the old books say the fifth house rules actual school since it's where groups of children come together, but I don't go for that. It's all the third house for education, primary education. I tend toward the third house, but you can play with that both. Okay. The third house can show the general attitude of a country, corporation, and the way it gets its message across or is heard. Okay, that's one interpretation of the third house. There's some that are a little different. They're similar to that, but anyway, the third house again, it rules is similar to the sign of Gemini, which is you're paying attention to your immediate environment and you're collecting data about that environment. And one of the environments we live in every day is our phones and the social media coming to us. Okay. And we're picking up on that. And so that social media information or the data coming to us is being fogged over and given illusion or delusion. And there's misinformation. This is what I'm getting at. Misinformation through the negatives of Neptune is blurring all the lines so that you can't use your critical thinking unless you really work at it. Now, this Neptune is in the opposite house that the natal Neptune for the United States is in. So natally, when the United States was born, Neptune was in Virgo. Virgo is the ultimate sign of critical analysis, critical thinking. Okay, so in a way, that's kind of a detrimental placement for Neptune because it makes Neptune's higher inspirational qualities and just having faith in life in general. You don't have to have faith in some higher power, but just having faith in humanity. Uh, all right, don't laugh. Having faith in humanity and that sort of thing makes it a little difficult because Virgo wants to take everything apart and just see the pieces, and it's really hard to see the whole. The Virgo finds it very difficult to see the whole, whereas Neptune is all about the whole picture. A picture's worth 1,000 words. That's a very Neptunian thing because the picture shows associations. It reminds you of associated things, okay? And that's what astrology is about. You know, when you talk about a sign or a planet, you're talking about associations, okay? Anyway, let me keep going here. So the natal Neptune is in Virgo. And so Neptune now is moving through the opposite sign of Pisces. Now, since a good few months ago, I look up these dates all the time and I forget them, but I don't know, probably about 5, 6, 7 months ago, Saturn entered Pisces. Well, Saturn is the planet of reality, physical world, as opposed to Neptune being the non-physical. Saturn is about discipline, structure, reality. Okay. Now, coming through Pisces, it's like this: make your dreams, your aspirations, inspirations real by doing the work. Okay. You have to do the work, they just don't magically happen. Okay. So, Saturn there, we've got 2.5 years. Okay. Well, 2 years probably now. And you can make these dreams and hopes and wishes come true if you do the work. But doing the work means you really have to do the work. You have to come down to reality. You have to come down to the ground and see what's real. Okay. And then you work at that to bring about the best inspirations you can or the best realities you can. And now, when Saturn opposes that Neptune in the United States chart, opposition equals recognition. I've read that years ago. Opposition equals recognition. You've got something opposing, two opponents facing each other. Okay? And you can see your opponent. You can see the other side of an issue. Okay? So Saturn, the planet of reality, is opposing natal Neptune within about 1.5 years from now, maybe, or a little over a year. I should have looked it up. Anyway, just you can Google it. When does Saturn oppose natal Neptune of the United States chart? When that happens, that it's a good few months that you can feel the effects. We will come down to earth and be able to decipher basically the difference between what's being shown to us in social media, the news, mass media, and what's real. Okay, I got to do this because I probably did later in this write up, but I can't. It's too long now. I made it too long. So, because I was supposed to keep reading it and I haven't done that. Okay, so when Saturn opposes the natal Neptune, I've looked this up in the past. Is that going to be about the time of the election? And so let me check because I forget. So would we be able to get this reality check in time for the election? We shall see. Hold on here. I didn't do the exact date, but for Neptune, you don't really have to. Or Saturn, you still don't have to. It'll be pretty close. Whether it's the exact date of the date. Okay, here we go. Saturn, 12 degrees Pisces. Nope, not this year. Because the natal Neptune for the United States is 22 degrees of Virgo. So it's only 12 degrees Pisces. So it's not even close. So it's going to be probably almost another year. Let's go to November 2025. Okay, a little past it. Oops. Let's see. I did November. Let's go to August. August 2025. August 2025. Saturn. Oh, no, I see. It went retrograde. Okay, so it did already oppose. Let's see. April, because it went into Aries already. Okay. So maybe before the election, possibly, I don't know. Boy, it moved fast. It was 12 degrees on the election day, and then loosen it, March of 2025. No, we're not going to make it election day. So starting about March into April of 2025, and I don't see it happening anytime in 2024. It gets to 18. Neptune's been up to 20 degrees already. So it's been pretty close. I know it has. It's been up to 20 degrees. It came pretty close. Oh, it did go past. No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, I said Neptune. Okay, I'm getting my lost here a little bit. We're talking about Saturn. Saturn is going to be Saturn. I gotta remember which one to look at. Sorry this is taking so long. I meant to do this ahead of time. But, you can look it up, and if you don't write it down in the right spot, you're going to forget sometimes. I used to be a little better at remembering things like that, but... Okay, so in August, it's 18 degrees. September. No, it goes retrograde. So that's before the election. Okay, so now we go to 2025. Again, I was saying March to April of 2025, Saturn will oppose it's at 21, but it's, the orb, at least 1 degree, because the Neptune in the United States chart is 22 degrees Virgo. So just remember the time, the date there, March through April, and then that May gets a little bit good amount past, and then by June or July it goes into Aries already. Okay, but then I'm pretty sure it's going to go back again in 2025. It probably goes back. It retrogrades, and let's see if it goes all the way back to 22 degrees. That's pushing it. Nope, it doesn't get back again. So there's no back and forth. The 3 stages of retrograde, it doesn't do that. So maybe we're a little lucky there. It's a one-hit town thingy, or whatever you want to call it, a one-hit chance, and for us to get some clarity on Neptune influence, okay? And if we are not going to open ourselves to how can I say this? Getting past that savior mentality. It's going to have, I can't even tell you if all right. So I did look up the United States solar return stuff for this year coming in 2024. Mars and Uranus are in the fourth house. I mean, if you can just stop to think about what that would be like. Mars and Uranus in the fourth house of the solar return. I don't remember some of the rest of it, but that in itself shows a lot of chaos, a lot of aggression in the homeland. Okay, I'll do another video on that in itself. Oh, and so also I wanted to say some things about the progressed chart more. So with the sun progressed in Pisces, we also have this. The progressed ascendant for the United States is squaring the natal ascendant. Okay, so I wrote that down in a list. I have this list. I should have read the whole list first. Progressed ascendant Virgo. So we want to be analytical, the Virgo, our newfound identity, but it's opposing Pisces and Neptune's in that. So that if the rising sign is Virgo, the progressed rising sign is Virgo, then the seventh house is Pisces, and that's where Neptune is. And so Pisces is, excuse me, the seventh house is other. Okay, so it's hard for us to see clearly our relationship to others or to other, especially other countries. Okay, sometimes. So there's that. And Neptune square natal ascendant. So the Neptune is squaring the natal ascendant in the third house, okay, or has already. It's past that at this point. I didn't put the date on here, but between 2011 and now, it's happened where the inspirational, aspirational aspects of Neptune have come into a clash with our identity, our Sagittarian identity. Sagittarian identity is I get to expand all over the place because I'm an explorer. I get to do what I want. And that whole manifest destiny thing that we have in this country is it's a huge trait of the Sagittarian mind. Okay. So you can see that we are very conflicted in what we expect, okay, out of our leaders. So the bigger picture here, hope I haven't been too confusing, but the bigger picture here is expectations. Pisces is really all about expectations. We want to go beyond the physical, beyond reality. We want to get better. We want to have a better life. We have a dreamy life, okay. And you've got individual Pisces who are grounded enough that they could help make those dreams come true. George Washington was a Pisces, but he had enough grounding, and we'll go into his chart, but he had enough grounding, maybe some Capricorn and Virgo in there somewhere, and maybe some Taurus, I don't know, I didn't look it up. I have in a distant past. But anyway, he was able to let go of that power. He knew he wasn't a savior. He had an ideal along with everybody else, but he knew that there was an ideal and that it takes work, Virgo, to make that happen. And you have to be on the ground doing the work to make it happen. You're not going to be brought there by some vague promises by some savior-oriented mental man. Okay, so now, there's this whole other part that I was going to talk about, and then I'm going to have to be done. But the determinist view. Now, I think I talked about this already too. Sobolski, I forgot his first name, but anyway, I saw a video, and I've seen discussions on him and the whole determinist thing. Now, all right, I'm going to read this, okay, instead of going off on things. So here we have those who support the theory that there is no free will. This is developed from the criteria from anthropological studies and prehistory. I may be off a bit on that, but in other words, it is based on the theory of evolution, okay? That I am wholeheartedly, I wholeheartedly follow this theory that not the free, that we have no free will necessarily. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the evolution and how, environmental pressures create evolution, etc. It is based on the theory, I said that. Yes, we evolved here on Earth from the Earth. So the determinists state that because we are instinctively following our innate biological orientation, our needs, or whatever you call it, then we are predisposed to the consequences of that. So they state, since we are genetically wired to seek out food, shelter, and safety, or in other words, all the basics of life because of instinct, then we are not able to get past that. We will therefore use up all and every possible resource in our environment, in our vicinity, in our region, and yes, in our global sphere of inhabitants. And this is called the maximum power principle. Any scientists listening? Well, I hope I got it straight. Okay. It's very basic, but okay. Now, I do get that, of course. This is a reality. However, from my experience of 66 years, I can see that there could have been a different path. Now, could there be at this point? I mean, whatever people are saying about that, that's fantasy. When you're talking about all these technologies that could be developed to save us, that's fantasy because it's not real yet. They've been working on some of those things forever and they haven't happened. So it's all fantasy. It's not here yet in time to save us. Time is a factor. That's very Saturnian. Okay. In my astrological studies, I have had a good number of experiences that show me that, yes, there is something else at work. I can see astrology at work in individuals' personalities traits, how they view life, or how they interact with others. I can see it when I mention how some things in their past, even in childhood, unfolded and how that affected them. It matches in their chart. So I have a glimpse, just a glimpse, at a bigger, wider, broader something that's at work. Do I need to explain what it is? No. I don't need to define it. All I know is what I've seen and experienced by doing astrology. Astrology is part science, but it's part art. Okay? And we don't try to make laws based on astrology. We don't try to, run the world based on astrology like some religions. Okay? It's a faith. It's a belief. There's a difference. Yes, this is somewhat of a belief, but based on anecdotal or, yes, there's some science that's been proved to show that astrology, certain aspects of it are proven, but we don't go around trying to make the world run on it. And we don't worship it. Studying is different than worshiping. I don't do that. Do I need, okay. No, I'm only describing some things that I've experienced. Now, the other part of the astrology is that any planet or sign can be expressed negatively or positively. That still sounds rather out there, doesn't it? Well, I am all about trying to bring the language of astrology, the meaning of astrological interpretation, down to earth. So, let's say an individual has Aries rising with Mars pretty close to the ascendant in Aries. Okay, wow. You say, and that's astrologers would say, wow. Okay, you say let's say has a Capricorn moon, and so that would be in the 10th house of public image, career, and the sun is in Leo. Here we have two emphasis on fire, Leo and Aries, and maybe more in the rest of the chart, and one earth emphasis so far. So one would start with thinking that this individual is very impulsive, the fire signs, and it's the outer personality with Mars there. With that Aries in the first house with Mars, it's ruler right there. But then we have that Capricorn moon, which teaches patience, discipline, emotional control, and a need for respect. So that helps that Mars and Aries on the first, but not without struggle. Yes, that inner conflict, because those two signs don't mesh. Aries wants everything right now, and Capricorn says, wait, patience, work for it, structure it, plan it. Okay, so that helps that Mars and Aries on the first. You have to be worked on. It has to be worked on in life. That impulsiveness, that Aries, gun ho, courage, yes, up the kazoo, probably, right? And that Leo needs attention. The Leo sun wants to be, hey, people, look at me. What I have. I can do this. I can do that. I can lead you. I can create. Applause and love from its audience. That's what Leo wants. Love and appreciation from its audience. It could be, from a stage or a platform of a politician wanting love from its constituents. Okay. Overall, you have modifiers in the chart that would assist one to eventually in life be able to express that Aries situation much more positively. Or if the individual negates the influence of the Capricorn and allows all that fire to take over, then we have a more negative expression. There is a factor of free will in life, however. If we become aware of our instinctual natures, that can be our instinctual natures built into each of us that's different, like this person with the Aries rising, it can be detrimental. We may be able to work out a compromise with ourselves as to whether we allow that to determine outcomes in our lives. Okay, I put this out there as an outcome that does not have to happen. Or no, excuse me. I put this out there where somebody could use their mental abilities or their free will to overcome the instinctual negatives of their personality. Okay, we all have negative aspects of our personality. Any one of us can decide to go through any process, even if it's just our own, or to take classes, or to, anger management or conflict resolution classes. I would love to take them. And we could do this so that the better outcome happens. We don't have to be slaves to our instincts, Many of us find change very difficult. And we may only make incremental progress in changing our negative behavior patterns. From what I've seen, most people find it very difficult to change and to, put up work on their behavior. Okay. It can be done, but it's very, very difficult. But the possibility is there. I listened to Cebulski, who would even say that the individual that ends up doing the positive thing is not choosing that of free will, but because somewhere back in his or her life, someone taught and influenced him or her to be more conditioned to make that choice. So it is still programmed. I really do not care. Of course, that would be environmental programming, not what's inside. So I might have that a little mixed up from what he would say, because what they're really talking about is genetic, inherent, instinctual, not necessarily cultural conditioning. Okay. Now, so I really do not care whether a positive outcome is programmed. I still say an individual can choose not to follow the more positive expression of his or her traits. Now that is all about the individual. How does that correlate to our species? Okay. Now, in some cases, astrologers, especially those of old, also have this idea of predetermined occurrences. That one's life is predetermined. In the old days, okay, days of kings and queens and feudal systems and all that, or whatever, before modern industrial society, especially a few thousand years ago, life was rather predetermined in a sense. The class you were born into pretty much determined where you would end up. There were exceptions, of course, but very, very few. Where am I going with this? Well, so, as you can see, the old astrology and this determinist philosophy kind of have something in common. I know the scientists are shaking their heads now, big time. Anyway, let me explain a little further. So, as a species, here we go. I will start by saying, at this point, things are pretty finished. Yeah, that's me. I'm a doomer. In other words, all those solutions that are discussed have so many negative consequences that we would not be making any headway. We're just digging a hole even deeper and the sides are coming in. This is mostly because people developing those solutions are mainly only considering climate change and forget about planetary overshoot. Okay. So with that, I will state that what I am talking about is the free will choice that we could have done in the past. I say there was a window in which we could have done something different. Of course, this can never be proven. I get that. But the thing is, there were people in government now, people in the higher echelons of society who knew exactly what was happening. They knew what we were doing by adding CO2 to the atmosphere and knew we were overshooting our biosphere. So I looked up an article. I might put it on here because I think I saved it to Messenger. The 10 presidents that knew about climate change and what we were doing and what was causing it. 10 presidents. And it's a big article on it. I think I'll add that onto this when I post it. So why did these people not put the brakes on society? Is it because we have no free will? I lean in the direction that we do have free will, but that crossing that bridge from greed to communal sharing and understanding things on a universal level globally and really considering other people's well-being somehow became a lost characteristic. I think that was the more natural state that we had. And because of particular happenings, especially industrial civilization, we've lost that. Okay, where was I? Okay, so, okay, somehow became a lost characteristic. I have read in the past that in our hunter-gatherer times we had to share. The tribe was our survival. Each human knew they could not survive alone. They knew that sharing is what kept them alive. At some point in the beginning of growing crops, it became more and more of a practice behavior to control the foodstuffs, to leave out some, to pick and choose who got food and how much. And now, to this point, in our species evolution, we have forgotten or possibly lost that ability to understand that. We do not survive alone, but with others and with communal cooperation. Okay, I was not really going to cover all that originally, and I may not have the whole theory of all that down completely correct, but I have read a good deal about these subjects over the years, and I believe I come close. If you'd like to learn more, I would suggest you begin researching some terms like ancient food storage, growing food on a mass scale, tribal life during prehistory or hunter-gatherer times, etc., etc. So I was going to say one more thing. What was it that came up on my mind? Oh, so I stated that, the communal sharing during prehistory, the free will thing. Maybe we have lost the window, and some people say it was way back at the beginning of agriculture, 8,000 years ago, which very well could be the case, okay? I'm not going to argue that point. But I mean, things really went on steroids when we adopted fossil fuels and started industrializing. I mean, we could have lasted a lot longer if we just stuck with subsistence farming, but okay, or stayed with the Stone Age, that was before agriculture. But anyway, the thing is, do we have any free will now to do any one particular really potent possible solution, which to me would be degrowth? Okay, it would have to be done on a global scale. So the likelihood of this happening is practically nil. I know that. But, doing it nationally might be a hair bigger than nil. I mean, some people are laughing already, but degrowth, if we could really make ourselves and get people to understand the situation that we're in, that we're going to die if we keep using fossil fuels, even if we go on renewables, because we're going to keep fossil fuels around to make renewables, et cetera, and all these other fantastic industrial propping up technologies like nuclear power, etc. By using those, we're still going to die. we can't get. I was talking to somebody I know very, very, very well this past week, before last week, and I was talking about, the conundrum. It's a conundrum. I'm not saying, oh yeah, let's stop fossil fuels outright. When you get that stop fossil fuels movement and everything, yeah, billions of people are going to die if we do that. But my point is, we're at a point where there is no good solution. But if we want to make any kind of a difference, any little bit of kind of a difference, so that there's some life on this planet left, even if it's not us, degrowth would be the one thing that we could really make headway with as far as the planet's concerned and make a difference. How we get people to get there, it's not necessarily going to save us. But if we stop producing CO2 right now, we know we're going to heat for 30 more years or so, 20, 30 years, okay? 20 years at least. So I know it's a crapshoot, totally. When people say, well, what, are you just not going to do anything? Because I say I'm a doomer. But I'm a doomer because we never did the things we could have done. We never did degrowth. And I would still like to see that be the one main solution that we do. But that's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. I would love to teach people, though, more about that side of things. Not making all these renewables so people can still go to stadiums, sports stadiums, and watch professional sports. Well, there's 1,500 private jets flying there to watch them also. I mean, why we don't get it is beyond me. Why, if a family or an individual is being frivolous instead of doing what they're supposed to do, you're going to fail. So why are we still doing frivolous crap and not doing this sensible, disciplined, stripped down basics of life so that we can save our biosphere to some degree, okay? Some degree. And at the same time, we're going to have to decommission nuclear power plants. And I know that's not really going to happen. But it's mind-blowing to me that everybody still is trying to prop up the system that is causing the problem in the first place. I just don't get it. So if we could teach people that degrowth would be the one thing that would give our children and our grandchildren some semblance of a planet after the initial lag warming, this Michael Mann really gets me. He keeps saying, oh, we can change it. We still have a chance, to reduce. We can reverse. He's saying we can reverse climate change. I'm not talking about reversing at all. All I'm saying is, the one shot that we would have would be degrowth at not saving industrial civilization, not saving us necessarily, but to keep enough living organisms alive so that we don't wipe out the whole planet. That's it. Okay, I'm done. I hope you were able to follow me. Okay, I tried to follow my outline and stick to a structure. But anyway, thank you for coming to Astrologer Climate Witness tonight, and take care. Stay warm. Bye.